All right, thank you everyone again for joining JMT Consulting for our webinar today over Audit-Ready Financials in Sage Intacct. My name is Megan Medila and I am a Regional Marketing Coordinator here at JMT. We're very happy to have our very own Mark Brazier on the call to lead us in our webinar today. Mark is a sales engineer here at JMT and he's going to show us some really amazing features of Sage Intacct here in a moment. I do want to let everyone know that this webinar is sponsored by JMT Consulting. We are an ERP and financial management solutions consulting firm with 28 years of experience specializing in nonprofits. We work with a wide variety of software partners to find the best solution for your nonprofit. I'd also like to share a few housekeeping notes with you all before we get started. If you do have any questions during the webinar today, please go ahead and submit those into the question and answer portion on your control panel. We're going to go ahead and save all of those questions until the end of the webinar, but don't hesitate to go ahead and submit those as you think of them. Also, today's webinar recording and slides will be emailed to you within 24 hours following the conclusion of today's webinar. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Mark, to get us started.
All right, thank you, Megan. Thank you for joining us today. I know everyone is busy. Everybody's time is very, very valuable, and so we want to jump right in. At JMT, we deal with all sizes of nonprofits. I have dealt with nonprofits anywhere from small ones from $4 to $5 million in revenues to over $150 million in revenues, and so one of the things about Intacct, and we're going to show you today, is that for the smaller organization, it gives you the robust software to do what needs to be done. You do not have to compromise to have second best. Intacct is the best in class in software. For the larger organization, it has the ability to expand to wherever you're going, and so I hope that you'll see that today. Before we get into the actual reporting, I want to kind of identify with you a little bit. Your everyday mission is to prepare the information so that dollars can be spent the most efficiently in your organization. Your CEO or executive director is looking down on you and saying, how's this money being spent? How is it being spent effectively and efficiently? And that is your job to make sure that they can do that. And that's really, as CFOs, and being a former CFO, that's what makes us tick, to be able to show that information. In addition to that is preparing reports of all kinds, but one of the most critical I know is reports for donors, so that they see that the funds are being spent wisely and so that the funds continue to come in. And so you have those kind of things going on that are exciting for you and things that make your day meaningful. And then you have the audit. And so the audit pulls us away from doing what we want to do and why we want to do it. And it comes along once a year. I know in CFO work in previous years, my kids would ask me, say, Dad, what'd you do at work today? And I would say something about the audit, and they would say, well, I thought you did that last week. And then so sometimes these audits are not only a few days, but a few weeks, and sometimes even a few months. And so they seem to grind on. And so my hope today is that when we look at some of the reporting, that we can help you streamline some of this, and so that you are preparing reports and getting ready for the audit all year long, and so that you're ready to go. So let's jump right in. I'm going to show you some screenshots to begin, and then we'll look at the software itself. First of all, the first screen I have is a document that I'm sure all of you are familiar with, the FASB Accounting Standards Update. And in the FASB Accounting Standards Update, you're going to see the various reports that are required of you. And so if we go through these today, good things progress here. One of the things that comes up is the statement of financial position out of this bulletin. You can see the crossed out pieces from the FASB document and the changes that are made and the changes that were made. And I know you're familiar with these, so I won't spend a lot of time, but we can see that they change things from the permanent and temporary, restricted and unrestricted, to such things as with and without donor restrictions. And so one of the pieces of a puzzle when you're looking at software is this software going to be able to adjust as I need it to, as the regulations change, as they no doubt will going down the road. And so you have your statement of financial position, you have your statement of activities, And all of a sudden we've gone from, again, the with and without donor restrictions, the various columns, the totals. And so the ability to create this within the system. Every single day I talk to CFOs and controllers from various organizations, and almost every single day when I talk to them about their current software, they immediately say, well, I just dump all my information out into Excel and then I create the report that needs to be created. Our goal for you is to do those things within Intacct. It is this, the software is not just for gathering the data and then having to put it into some other format to be able to report on it and to be able to manipulate it to get the information out of it you want, but to do it within the software itself. And so one of the major goals, and if I had the opportunity to sit down with you in a demo personally or an alignment call, my conversation would be with you is, what are those processes that you're doing outside your software that we need to move into the software so that it becomes a part of your everyday process rather than having to spend hours and hours manipulating Excel spreadsheets. We all that are in the financial business enjoy Excel, enjoy all the amazing things that it can do. But your greatest value to your organization, as you know, is not to manipulate Excel spreadsheets. We can find other people to do that. Your greatest value to your organization is to be able to analyze that data. And so if we can get it to the reporting level, the quickest way to do that, and the most efficient way to do that, allows you to do what you really were trained to do and would like to do. So you have your statement of financial position, your statement of activities. Here also is the Form 990 from Part 9 of the Form 990 of your IRS form. And so these are reports that are required of you around audit time. And so we want to take a look and see what Intacct can do to help you create those. So going back, here's the statement of activities I showed you in the beginning. And you can see it there. And right beside it, I want to show you the Intacct. So this report right here is pulled, and I'll show you the actual report here in a few moments. But this is a screenshot straight from the software. And as you can see, it lines up and it does exactly like what is required of you for your statement of activities come audit time. Everything is lined up without donor restriction, with donor restriction. Your GL accounts down the left side, your beginning assets, beginning of year assets at the end of the year, under restrictions, without restrictions, and then all of those combined. So it lines up perfectly. It allows you to save a lot of time and not taking data and moving into Excel and then creating the reports that you need. Here's the financial position form or format. And here's your statement of financial position within Intacct. Had the same type of thing. We have the previous year, or the current year. Current year, I'm using demo data, so it's a couple years old. The 2018 data is the current year for this particular demo. Previous year, 2017, with and without donor restrictions, just as the regs call for. And so everything is lined up immediately, and you set those up. And so we'll dive into it just a little bit further as we go further along. And then your Form 990, Part 9, there is that report. And as you can see, we have our regular GL accounts down the side, and then we have your ending to your total expenses, straight from column A, column B, program services, column C, management in general, column D, your fundraising, lined up exactly as it is. And so when you're working with your auditor, the ability for your software to do this is going to save them time. And when it saves them time, it makes it easier for you as well. And so my encouragement to you is to see what Intacct can do with those. So let's take a moment here and let's jump into the software and see if I can't show you some of the things that the software itself can do. So we go to the reports module of the software. And here's the all reports. And what I wanted to start with here is just giving you a glimpse, and we're going to go back to those 3 reports here in just a moment, but there's other things along the way that I want to share with you to kind of give you a glimpse and whet your appetite for it. As you can see, some of these have been edited and created, but as you go down through this list from the report center, you see a number of reports. You see 990s, you see statement of activities, you see financial position, you see investment footnotes, you see a variety of things. You'll see regular budget reports and so on and so forth. Out of the box, Intacct provides for you over 25 different reports. And these 25 different reports are the beginning stages for you to create reports for your organization. There is no need within the reporting system of Intacct to be able to use code or start from scratch, but you start from these basic reports that are already created for you, and you begin to build upon those things. As you go along, and if you'll notice down through here, as you go along and you create reports, there's two ways that I do this to find the specific reports that I'm looking for and that I want to use time and again because of all the other ones that are already there, is I put them in an order where they'll line up immediately, or you can mark them as a favorite. And once you mark them as a favorite, when you come into the report center, as it did when I opened up this, it goes automatically to your favorite reports. And so I've put into this for us today the favorites into the favorites, just these three particular reports that we have looked at and are looking at today. And so as you look at this report, if we go to this particular report, this is what we found that I showed you from the slides a moment ago. You see it's pretty cut and dried, it's very simple, it's very compact. So if I go back to that report and I want to create it, it's going to give me the opportunity to do that. I can narrow it down by department or entity. Of course, we want the whole organization for our purposes today, and there we are at that report. But as we go into that report, excuse me, the auditor comes along and says, well, I need to see into the detail, and obviously looking to pull random invoices and random contributions and those sort of things to be able to audit. And so the report center allows you to dive into those rather easily. So let's say he or she tells you and says, let's look into your contributions. They go into your contributions and you drill down into it, and you've got all these entries of contributions throughout the year. Well, let's say he wants to look further at the $29,000 contribution that was posted on January 1st, 2018. And there you've drilled all the way down to the actual transaction level for the auditor. Not only have you drilled down to then, there's that $29,000 entry that we talked about earlier. Not only have you drilled down into the actual entry, but you also have the attachment that gives the documentation that is needed to support that particular entry. It's right there. It's always there. It's prepared for you and allows you to provide that information to the auditor, and there may not be many of us CFOs that are wanting to do this, but there seems to be more and more as we live more and more of a day of rather than doing this thing once a year, but doing it on an ongoing basis. So come the end of your fiscal year, it is not a major action, but a continuation of what's been going on, giving auditor access for a short period of time or whatever period of time you would like to a read-only access and access to only what you want within the system, maybe just within the reports themselves. And that way they're able to dive down, find the information they want, find the documentation that they want, and support the entries that you have made. So that is one way that the report center makes things quite easy for us in Intacct. So let's back up and let's look at the financial position report that we looked at a moment ago. So here's the report. And as we look down through here again, it may be that we want to look further into the report. And as I showed you already, you can expand anytime you have the triangle that is turned to the side, or the area where you have blue letters. You can expand that area or dive into the area. The reason these are not lit up at this point into blue is because there are additional categories underneath those. And so they're allowed it to do it and allows you to dig further into it. But here we are in our short-term liabilities. And so there's two ways to be able to expand these. So maybe you start your general report and you have it pulled up tight like this, or maybe you expand it just a little bit and have your short-term and your long-term tied up like that. But let's say you wanted, and you can easily open that up and go down into it. But there's another way to do that as well, to make it something that you do uh, where it automatically comes back to you the way that it wants to. And we do that in our rows. And if you notice here in the short-term liabilities, it was just showing the summary. And I'm showing this to you. I know this is a lot of detail, but I'm showing this to you today to show you how simple it is to expand these various pieces. So it is as simple as that. And all of these, and we could pull those into detail if we wanted to, but it was simple as opening that up from the plus to the minus, and all of a sudden you've got all these available to you. Now when we go to the report, the short-term liabilities are all pulled open. And so there are two ways to do it: within the report itself, to see a summary and then expand the summary, or in the actual building of the report, you're able to do that as you look at the different rows and create that. And so it is very flexible. I have made the comment many a times. If you've been in a personal demo with me, I've made the comment on many times that the reporting system within Intacct has, I know it's not infinite, because I know infinite is an awful large number, but it is almost infinite in the different possibilities of what you can do with your reporting system. It is only limited by your number of accounts, your number of dimensions, departments, etc., that you might have, because it is so flexible. And not only is it flexible, but it has the ability to do that without going into coding, without going into building from scratch. I am convinced that after just a few short times of taking one of the pre-built program or reports that are in the system, that you can take your reports and you can begin to tweak them the way you want, edit them the way you want, and then save them. And once you save them, you can go back to them time and time again, or even have the opportunity to have them automatically send those reports to you by email on a periodic basis as you choose. So let's go back and look at the 990. As you look at the 990, again, it's a basic traditional report. You have the GL accounts down the left column, and then across the top, what we have are the categories that were set up, that are dictated to us by 990. The total expenses, program services, management in general, and fundraising. So the big question is how difficult is it to get these into the categories so that it looks like this, so it matches the 990 that I'm going to have to create, or that my auditor is going to have to create, someone's going to have to create to put into the 990 form. Well, the way that is done is through departments. And so if we go back and look at the 990 report, and we go back into the edit of it, and we go into the columns, we're showing you the other direction. We've got the regular GL column here, and then we have total expenses, program services, management, general, and fundraising. And if we dive into that just a little bit, what we see is that the way that is done is through departments, and through the dimension that is called departments. Some software are going to use the term, if you're here with MIP, been using MIP, they may use the term segment, but it's all part of the chart of accounts, the dimensions. And so we create dimension groups. In this particular one is called program services. And in program services, we've put all of the departments that need to go into that. And so you can see here we have program services there, we have management in general, we have fundraising, and of course we do not have any here because we've got the total expenses there. We've titled it what we wanted to do. It is that simple. The issue of changing the years, the issue of doing future years, in forecasting if you have a budget, the ability to do past years and do prior years or prior multiple years, to take this information, whichever direction that you need to take it is available to you. So we have these particular departments. Now let's go into the departments themselves and let me show you, I think it's this one here, how we have set that up. Pretty simple scheme here, but what we have done, we have set up our departments under the 3 areas that the 990 requires. You have your fundraising, nothing else under that. But under management in general, we have the various departments that may be under management in general. And then under program services, we have the various departments. And so these are the parent. Program services is the parent to these particular departments. And so therefore, when we go to the report, I can get back to the right report. When we go to the report, we're able to pull these particular groups that are set up, and that is set up as department services or program services. So the department hierarchy allows us to do that. So at the end of the day, in the business office, no one knows the amount of detail that goes in to any of these numbers. CEOs, executive directors, board members, donors, different ones, look at these reports and say, the numbers are such and such. But at the end of the day, no one knows all the work and detail that you and your staff do to make sure that the detail is there so that presentations such as this can be accurate and be effective. In Intacct, you have the ability to create those reports simply. It is a very big disappointment in the financial office when all the work has been done, all the detail has been done, and then you have the inability to report it out to those who need to know it and those who need to see it, need to work with it, need to make decisions based on it, do not have that available to them. Intacct allows you to do that. Megan did not go into detail in my bio. As I mentioned, I was a former CFO of a private college, and we were originally, when I came to the college, we were in MIP. MIP was a good software. It did great things for us. But over the last few years I was there, I began to see the change, and we had MIP on our local servers within the school. And we began to see the need for change to go to the cloud, the need to change for a variety of reasons. One was security and the ability to know that our data was good, and that if our servers failed, that they were taken care of in the cloud. And the changes that were made as far as what we've talked about today with the various reports. And so we made the transition ourselves from MIP to Intacct. And by doing that, we opened up all kinds of doors and abilities for us in management of making strategic decisions for the future, but not only making the strategic decisions for the future in operations, but also presenting to our donors the information that was needed to show them that we were being wise stewards of the funds that they had given us to carry out our mission that they wanted us to carry out. That is the purpose of accounting, to get us to that point, to be able to do that so we can keep the mission going. I know when we look at the operations of your particular organization, that oftentimes the back office, the financial office, is overlooked. Without good reporting like this, the rest of the things begin to fall down. And so Intacct gives you the opportunity to do that. And I encourage you to look further at it and see what it can do for you. All right, Megan, if we have questions, I'll take those.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. It looks like we do have a couple questions so far. The first one is the drill down available on all reports or just some reports? The software that I use doesn't allow for drill down on some formats of the statement of activities, such as the periodic style and combining style of reports.
Most all the reports, any of the reports that any statement of activity reports it's going to do, most all of them will do. There are a few that it does not allow, but it's on the fringes, and it really gets into some of the very, very customized reports that you might do. And so I would say 99% of reports that you're going to use on a day-by-day basis, maybe 100% of the reports you're going to use on a day-by-day basis, it's going to be there for you. the drill down is very much part of it. That's a part of the ability of a native cloud software, is that ability to drill. And as you saw on my screen, these different windows just popped up. The ability to just go into these different windows and to drill down makes that available to you. And so it's almost, it's not 100%, but it's almost 100%.
Great. Thank you, Mark. And then the other question that we had come in is, where can I find the standard reports? I don't see anywhere in my version that there is a standard list.
It should be under Reports Center, I believe is where it is. It's been a while since this demo was completely new, but I think it's in Report Center. Our support can help you find that, but I'm pretty sure it's in Report Center. That's where it is here. I'm pretty sure that's where it is from out of the box.
Great. And that's all the questions that we had so far. And just a reminder to everyone, if you did have a question over anything that Mark covered today, you can submit those questions into the question and answer center on your part of your control panel, and we'll get those answered right away. And while we wait for any more of those questions to come in, I'll just expand upon what the follow-up process will look like after the webinar today. So I will be reaching out to everyone through a phone call following the webinar, just for a more personalized discussion over your organization's needs related to your financial back office, to see if Intacct would be a good fit for your organization. And from there, we can move into a more formal assessment and evaluation. So everyone just be looking out for that phone call from me starting tomorrow. And I'm looking forward to connecting with you all. I think we did have another question come in just now, Mark. It asks, how do you attach the source documents into the document?
It's a simple click and drag. If I can go back to a report. Yeah, it's a simple click and drag. I'm not going to find what I'm looking for immediately here, so I'm not going to spend much time on it. Let me go back to that one that we had open. Yeah, and so that was, so the document has to be saved on your computer, and but then once it's saved on your computer out of your file manager, you can just simply click and drag it over. And you can not only click that, in this one only I showed one attachment, but as you can see with this, there's multiple transactions within this one journal entry, and so you can have multiple attachments. I don't think there's a limit on how many you can have there, and so it's a click and drag, and you can do multiple attachments. It's a real simple. It takes us closer. We all used to think years ago, we here are old enough to remember, to think that we were told we would do away with paper. I don't know we're ever going to do away with paper, but it's one more step closer to that, where you can take a invoice, click and drag, whether if you receive it digitally, obviously you can click and drag it into the transaction. If you receive paper, you can scan it into your computer, click and drag it in, and do away with the paper, and then it's where it needs to be at the right time that you need it, rather than looking for it through another file.
Great, thanks, Mark. And that's all the questions that we had. Oh wait, we just had another question come in. It's just a follow-up to the previous question. It
Yes.
says, can you add the documents later?
Yes, you can. So I've clicked edit here on that particular transaction, and I do not have a file open, but I can just click another one and drag it right into that and put it later.
Great. All right, looks like that's all the questions now. We'll see if any last minute questions come in, but just a reminder, if you have a question that you aren't able to ask on the webinar day, or you think of later on after the webinar's ended, don't worry about that. You can ask that during the follow-up, and we'll get that answered for you then as well. And so before we close out today, I did want to let everyone know that we have another webinar coming up on October 27th over Finance and Board Ready Reports at Your Fingertips. We definitely recommend getting signed up for that one as well. It is free, like all our webinars are, and you can register on our website at jmtconsulting.com. And looks like there are no more questions, and that's all I have today. So before we close out, Mark, do you have any closing words for everyone?
No, I would just simply say, if you do have questions, do not hesitate to reach out to us. JMT, this wasn't talked about much in the beginning. I didn't say much about it. We are not a publisher of software. We are a consulting firm that helps connect you to the best software, and we think Intacct right now for not-for-profits is the best software available. And so we want to help you. Our goal is to help you reach your mission. That's what we want to do. So any way we can help, please let us know.
Great. Thank you so much, Mark. And thank you, everyone, today for your time and joining us. We appreciate you all, and we hope that you all have a great rest of the day. Bye, everyone.